Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to Being on Stage, the only podcast that gives you motivation, inspiration, and confidence to be better on stage. No matter how you entertain, sing, dance, band, comedian, public speaking, MC, drag, burlesque, performance art, or street performer, this is the show for you. Hey rock stars, Reggie Dawson, host of the Being on Stage podcast. Welcome back. It's been a while, and I kind of want to just give just an update and kind of download, I guess, let you know what's been going on and what's been on my mind lately and everything. And it has been a long time, it's been since, it's been almost about 10 days since I've recorded a podcast. And it's a lot longer than I normally go. A couple of things have happened. First, the platform that hosts my podcast, they recently went through an update. They now have a 2.0 in their dashboard and their hosting platform for my podcast. Because listen, I don't just record directly into iTunes. Like there's a whole background to how your podcast gets onto iTunes and everything. But anyways, long story short, my platform was updated, and over the last 10 days or so, it was my turn to migrate over to the 2.0 platform. And in doing that, I guess I don't know if you guys noticed anything, but I was kind of out of commission for a couple of days. I don't know if the podcast still played or not. So if you tried to download a podcast in the last 10 days, try it again if it didn't go through. But anyways, yeah, so that kind of got in the way a little bit. And then, things just kept kind of happening like that. We were dog sitting for a friend, and we have 2 dogs of our own. And when we were dog sitting for a friend, that particular dog is a little bit bigger than our dog and a little rambunctious and a lot more energy. And he's not used to just kind of like, we've got our dogs that are trained, like when they're in the house, they're pretty chill. Like they're level, they're calm. When they're outside, completely different. But when they're inside, they're calm. And the dog we were watching was not trained the way our dogs were trained. Great dog. Love all dogs, by the way. Great dog. Such a good boy. He sits when he's told to sit, but he just had a lot of energy. And every time I sat down to record a podcast, the dogs would just go crazy, and there's like barking and growling and howling and yipping or whatever the high-pitched ones they do, the yelping, I guess it is. Not like in pain, but like when they're playing. And it was just not happening. Add on to that the day job and the commute and everything like that. We all gotta deal with doing something to keep ourselves afloat. And so things just kept kind of standing in the way from recording a podcast. And this happens to all of us. Like, listen, I talk about performing on stage and all the things that you can do on stage to connect with your audience, but there's going to be times when it just feels like everything keeps getting in the way of doing your thing, whether it's, not being booked or, schedule conflicts, helping out friends, maybe you injured yourself, things like that. Sometimes things just keep getting in the way, and it can put you in a place that makes you feel like you start thinking, well, I'm already not doing it. Maybe I should give up. Maybe I should stop. Maybe I should walk away. And, it goes through your mind. It goes through everyone's mind. It happens to all of us. When you go a certain amount of time without doing what you love, you start to kind of question, do I really love it if these things keep getting in the way? And the answer is yes. You do. You love what you do. You love performing, It's just, maybe right now you have a couple of other things going on. And I guess the message here in this kind of situation, and, I always try to take a situation and turn it into a message for performing and how you can like motivate or inspire yourself or use it on stage. And I guess the message here is, even when things get in the way and even when life is going on, don't doubt yourself. Don't think those negative thoughts, and for God's sake, don't walk away from your passion ever. So that's a little bit about what's been going on and kind of why it's taken me a while to podcast. The other thing, on a positive note, speaking of things not happening the way they're supposed to happen, I've talked about it a couple of times on the podcast. I talk about it a lot in the Facebook group and on the page. I'm starting a local business here in my community. I have being on stage, and I've been doing this online for about a year and a half. I've done a couple of other things like online businesses and everything, and I've never done anything local, and it's something that I've always wanted to do, you know. I've always wanted to have something local that's contributing to my hometown, because I still live in the same town that I was born in. And I mean, I've moved here and there. I've moved, but I mean, always within a 30-mile radius. And it's not that I don't want to get out, because I have full plans to uproot and travel the country and everything like that with my wife and kid. You know, I just so happen to live in the same place I was born, and even if I didn't, I've always wanted to have something local, something that is mine, that's contributing and sharing something with my town, my community, wherever I happen to be, you know. And so I started a beard care company, and I found these products that I really, really liked. They let me put my name on them. They shipped them out to me and everything. And in my head, this was a much longer process than I thought it was going to be. And I think this happens to us, you know. It's happened to me before when I was performing. Like, when you think something's going to take much longer than it does, you know? Like, I was trying to get into this new venue, and I wasn't really, like, putting a lot of effort into rehearsing, because I didn't have anything upcoming, so I didn't have anything specific to rehearse. I was keeping myself limber, you know, practicing a couple of sets, a couple of sequences, a couple of dance moves, some choreography that I wanted to use. But I wasn't really having anything specific to rehearse for. And I learned a good lesson here, okay? So there's two good lessons I learned here. One, with the beard company, clarify how long things are going to take. Because what happened is, when I was thinking we were going to launch June 1st, because my products were going to take till the end of May, my products arrived May 3rd, like on my doorstep, May 3rd. And that's like 2 or 3 weeks sooner than I thought it was going to be. So me and my wife / graphic designer, we had to dive in and get some stuff ready, because as soon as these products arrived, I wanted to get going, you know. I wanted to move. So I was able to set some things up. So in performing, you know, in this venue that I was trying to get into, and this is probably something you can relate to, you know, maybe you're trying to get into a venue, maybe you're trying to get a new booking, maybe you're just trying to, you know, take another step or get in with a group or whatever you're trying to do. I was trying to get into the new venue, and, you know, I had messaged the owner, and I had messaged the promoters and everything like that, and I hadn't really had much response, like, at all. And I was kind of like giving up on it. And I mean, it was stupid, because I was literally like 2 weeks into messaging this venue. And at that point, I'm like, all right, it's going to take me a little while to get in there. So, you know, I'll follow up in another couple of weeks. In the meantime, another performer that I worked with, they were also in the process of getting into that same venue. And so what happened was, while I was, you know, kind of anticipating a month or 2 months or, 6 months to get in to that venue and be able to get booked, because this performer that I work so closely with got in, like, almost immediately, she was able to bring me in and bring me into her production and her night and her thing that she had gotten. And it was incredible, because it was like November, and my first show is the beginning of December, and I was anticipating like February, March or something like that, because I was just starting that communication a little bit. It was those return messages you get where it's kind of like, you know, let me check the book, see what we got. Can you send me some videos? Like, just the beginning stages of hooking up with this venue. Turns out, I you know, when I went in with her, I became a house name at that venue for years and years and years. It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. And, speaking of getting into venues, another time when things happen like much faster is when I went to perform in West Palm Beach. I went down there, and I just happened to walk in on a random night to this club, and I just asked the person at the door, like, listen, are you hiring any entertainers? You know, what do I have to do to get in here? They brought out one of the promoters. She basically told me to come on Monday. This was like a Wednesday night or something. She told me, come down here on Monday, go for an audition, and if you're good, we'll have you on next Friday or the Friday after. What? I was just walking in to inquire. This was so unexpected. I went to the audition. I nailed it. They booked me like 2 weeks out. It was crazy, like absolutely crazy how fast these things can happen for you. So, you know, and I'm just kind of going through things that are on my mind, you know. But here, Here's something for everyone to pick up, don't expect things to come immediately, but don't expect things, don't expect anything at any time. Prepare yourself, hope for it, plan for it, work for it, but don't expect it. And I think that's the problem, is I was having an expectation that I wasn't going to get in, or that they weren't going to be able to book me, or that they weren't actually looking for performers, or that it was going to take a long time. I had that in my mind, and instead I should have been working my ass off preparing something, because all of a sudden I had an audition in 5 days. What? Does it ever happen to you? Have you ever had something just kind of like land on you and all of a sudden it's a scramble? So that right there, that particular night, I learned a very valuable lesson, and I pass it on to every single performer that I work with, every performer that I meet. Always have something prepared. I have this saying, like, have it in your back pocket, like in case you need to pull it out, like in case you need to have something prepared. You should always have a show like kind of in your back pocket. You know what I mean? You should always have that show or that performance that's just like, when someone calls you and says, hey, we had a cancellation, I need you, you have something. And it's ready to go. And you can just put on your outfit, grab your gear, and get on stage. Whatever you got to grab, But you can just get on stage. And believe me, if you don't think that will happen to you, you are 100% mistaken. Because at some point in your career, it's going to happen. As long as you work hard and you get that reputation as an entertainer that works hard, it will happen. Someone will call on you. It may not be the same night. Like it could give you a week, 2 weeks, whatever. But you're going to get short notice bookings as long as you prove yourself that you can carry, that you can carry it out and that you can come through. And that's just performing. That's all that is. That's just getting out there and keep doing it. And every time you get out there, you bring something new. You bring an experience for your audience. So that's the other thing that's been on my mind lately, making your performance an experience. I was talking to my boss the other day, and we were talking about an experience of, for our employees, because we're trying to get them more involved and more excited about doing their job. It's a corporate thing, You want everyone to be excited about their job. So we were talking about making something an experience, and that's what your show should be for your audience, is an experience. Like, I hope this podcast, I hope my podcast, I sincerely hope each episode is an experience for you, But I also hope that your performance in turn is an experience for your audience. That's what draws them in. That's what keeps them coming back. That's what makes them click like, follow, subscribe, is that experience that you give them. So I say, connect with your audience, leave your legacy on stage, turn your audience into fans. That all rounds out to be, give them an experience. You remember the first time you stepped on stage, like how hard you worked for it and how important it was to you? What happened? Like, what happened? When did we stop giving our audience an experience? When did we stop thinking about every single detail that we put on stage? Think about that. Think about that, though. When did that stop? And how can you get that back? Because you need that. You got to give them an experience. So that's kind of the basic download. That's the things that have been going on with me, the things that are on my mind. I'm going to keep these episodes coming at you. It's going to be like Spitfire, man. They're going to come like, I don't know, crazy people coming out of a crazy chute. Don't quote me on that. Whatever. Sometimes I just lose my train of thought and something random comes out. So you'll grow to love it. Don't worry. Listen, if you haven't done so already, can you head into iTunes and leave a 5-star rating on this podcast? Comment, share it with your friends, all that good stuff. So listen, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. We'll be back again with another episode soon. And so subscribe. Thanks again. Keep on shining.